All right, so I want to actually write the same program, same component in React and Svelte, just to see how easy or difficult it is, and what the programmer ergonomics feels like, as well as the how easy the code is to understand, and whether there are any limitations, etc. So let's get started. Let's create a React project. So here we go. npx create React app, and we'll call it file upload React. That's the component I'm going to create. Okay, happy hacking, good. Let's go and open it. There it is, file upload React. Let's open that. And I'm going to let's create a file upload component. But before we do that, let's just run the basics. So we go in here and run an npm install or yarn install. I think that goes faster. Okay, it's already done. Good. Then we run this. So I could run it with npm run dev or npm start or something like that, or I could just use this part. So here's npm start. That's going to run it for us, so that way it doesn't take up one of my bash terminals. So here it is, edit src/app.js and save to reload. We will do that when the time comes, but let's instead go in. So let's go to app.js, and this is where we will embed our new component, but let's create our component in a separate file, new file. Let's call it file upload.js. Import React from React. Oops, sorry, lowercase r. And we'll create a functional component, so which means export default function file upload. There it is. And return. We will do something very simple. We'll just say let's return an input type equal to file, right? So this is just going to create a simple file upload widget. Go back into app.js, and we can get rid of everything that is, or we can keep it, doesn't matter. My interest is more in the file upload component. So let's import file upload from file upload, and let's plug that component file upload into our application. So let me do something better. Let me just move this file upload inside the header, because that is what threw us off. All right, so here you have some choose files, select some files. Okay, the thing that this component is going to do is it's going to let you select some files. So here I can select some files, but I can select only one. So how about we allow multiple? So we go back here and say multiple. If I just say multiple, it will let me select multiple files. There you go. So it can select multiple files, but and now it says 5 files selected. But multiple it should be a parameter. It should come as a property. So let's just do that here, multiple. So I hope you already know that I could have said, instead of putting multiple there, I could have said props and then destructured. I could say const multiple equal to props dot multiple. This is one way to do it. Another way to do it would be to destructure it straight into multiple like that. But even faster way to do that would be simply to go in here within the function parameter list, just destructure it right there. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. So now you can, I believe you can also provide defaults. I think we'll see. I think you can do that. So multiple, let's say by default true. So once you do that, you can choose files, and now you can select multiple. Now come back here, and you can, to make sure that it is controllable through multiple, I say multiple equal to false. Now, there are many ways to say false. I like this way because this preserves the data type of multiple, which is Boolean, not string. So now when I do that, I should be able to select only one. And I am able to select multiple. That's not good. That is not good. Why is that? Yes, absolutely. So the problem is that I should be saying multiple equal to multiple, like that. Let's save that. And now, if I select, okay, now I'm trying to select multiple and it's not letting me select. I'm using shift and command. None of that is working. So good. So that is nice. Now let's go back, and I still do want to do multiple true, because there's a reason why. I am going to show the files that have been selected. Let's list every file that we are selecting. So let's do a UL, and we want to generate li for each file that gets selected. So here is a curly brace. The files themselves are coming from this component. So what we have to do is we have to create a state store, local state store. So we will say import React, comma, use state from React. So use state, if you don't know, is a hook, React hook, that allows you to create local component local state. So we'll say const files and then set files. So set files is the setter, files is the getter, I guess. And we say use state and the initial value, which is blank, nothing, none, right? So now whenever you select some files, which means there will be an on change event. So on change, you want to handle change. So here we go, function handle change takes an event, and event.target.files is what we want to convert. So we just say array. Well, let's first just console log this. Console.log files. Let's console log these files, and that's all we will do. We are not actually changing anything so far. Okay. Let's see if this works. Okay, there is some problem. Files is assigned. Okay, these are warnings. We can ignore them. Let's select. Let's view the console, the JavaScript console. Choose files, and we will select a bunch of files. And when I do that, console log shows that those are the four files that I selected. All right. So now that I know what file looks like, you see it has last modified, name, size, type, and all these things. So what we want to do is we want to convert that into an array. By default, it is a file list, literally file list, not an array. To turn that into an array, we just say array dot to, I think to array dot from, yes, array dot from, and then you say e dot. It will take any iterable, which what file list is. It will take the iterable e dot target, which is the input file, and then files, and then you just assign that to files like this. But you're not supposed to do that. Remember, React doesn't want you to directly modify state, so you have to instead call set files. That's the setter. All right. You do that, and now you can actually start using files in here. So you can just say files.map, and then take each file and turn that into what? Well, let's turn that into li. f.name is the expression that we want to put. So now what this will do is this will iterate over files, map the array of files into an array of LIs, which are mapped using each file element f being converted to li wrapping f.name, right? Let's save this, see what happens. We go to choose files, and let's select 2, 3 files. And okay, we got something, but we also got a warning. So yes, of course, we know what that warning is. But let's first understand what we just did. We selected 3 files. Those 3 files uh, that's triggered on change called handle change. Handle change is extracting the list of files using e.target.files, and then array.from is converting it from file list to a plain array, which is what we are passing to set files, and that modifies files. And then we are rendering files through a map function. All right, now let's fix this problem, the key issue. So React always wants you to set the key correctly, a unique key. So which means every li, repeated li should have a key. What key should it have? Well, it's something unique. So we will say f comma I. I is the index. So map function can either iterate with just the element value f or element value comma index, and we will use that index as the key. Let's see if that works. All right, the warning at this point is gone, but we'll see if that comes back. Okay, no warning. All right, so this thing is working. Great. Let's make it look a little bit nicer, because UL is not much to look at. Let's make it look a little nicer by saying table. Let's turn this into a table. Create a T head and a TR containing TH name, size, and type. So this is the heading, and then we will create a T body. T body has TR, and this TR is what is going to repeat. So let's bring this file.map into here, because that map is the repeater. And instead of li, we will be using TRs. We will keep the key and close the TR. But within TR, we are not going to have f.name directly. We'll have TDs. Let's do the TDs. All right, TD f.name. Oops, I said TR again. I meant to say TD. All right, let's repeat this. f.name, f.size, and f.type. Type is the MIME type. Let's format this a little bit to make sure it looks good. Yeah, this looks reasonable. Most importantly, map. Is map doing the right thing? Yes, it is. It seems to be. Save it. Let's see what. Let's test it. Select a few files, and boom, we have a table. Okay, so this part looks very reasonable, and it's not too complicated. So this is how you do stuff in React. Let's go back and create an equivalent Svelte project and see how it looks. So the way you create, just like you have create React project, in Svelte, there's no such special program for it. You simply use degit. So npx degit is basically a way to, it's a tool that will clone a repository, Git repository, and remove the repository part of it and just keep the source code. So degit, get it from Svelte. Okay, npx degit SvelteJS /template. So this is the template starter project, and I want to copy that into my, this is the name of my project. All right, let's get running. It already cloned. It was that fast. So let's open it in VS Code. I have a VS Code set up right next to this here. Okay, here, FileUpload Svelte. That's my project that I just cloned through degit. Let's get started by running npm install. So this will, oops, no. I want to do yarn install, remember. So yarn install. Okay. So yarn install is done. Good. let's look at the project structure. There is public, which contains index.html. This is where the app will get mounted, and the code that mounts it is here. And here's the app. I'm not going to go through the structure of the Svelte app right now. I just want to do comparative analysis of the two, Svelte versus React. So let's create this Svelte component, new file upload.svelte. So just like the other one, you just say input type, but you will notice you're not importing React or Svelte. Why? Because Svelte is a compiler. It's not a runtime. So input type file, and you will have multiple, just like the other one had. So multiple, and the value of which is whatever you supplied as multiple. So multiple, and to define the parameter, I have to add a script tag, and in the script tag, I have to say export let multiple, and the default value is true. So that is there. Okay. Now let's start with this, and we go back into app.svelte and instantiate this component. Let's so here I will say in order for me to use file upload, I have to import it. So let's import it. Import file upload from file /fileupload.svelte. You do have to say .svelte. Okay. Now we can say file upload, and let's leave it at default. Save it, and we need to run it. Okay, yeah. So I forgot to run this. So let's go and run. I can run it from bash shell, or I can run it directly from here, npm scripts. And there it is. I'm opening that, so I just opened it. Good. So that's hello world. This came from the template, but this is the part that I added. So choose files. I can choose a few files, and it says 4 files. Of course, I haven't added the code that shows the files and everything. So let's add that code. I want you to notice, whether it has more code, it uses more code or less. So I'm going to basically copy that, this code. Okay, yeah, let's copy it and then paste it here, right? Why increase our troubles? So select some files, table, and then tr, blah, blah, blah. So there is one thing in which Svelte is different. It's not going to use files.map. First of all, files is not being linked. So I have to, instead of saying on change with capital C, you have to say on : change. So this is Svelte way of doing things. And in the curly braces, you will do the same thing. Handle change is the function that it will call. So let's do handle change. So function handle change takes an event and does something with the event. Of course, e.target is the file input, and .files is the list of files. So let's do the same thing. Array.from, take that. But the funny thing is, there is no use state, there is no set state, there's none of that. You simply say let files empty array. Of course, you want to initialize it with something, and then just reassign it. That's all. No use state, no set state, no files separate from set files, and none of those. This is it. This is all you have to do. So let's see if this actually works. So I save it. I'm not sure if that worked, but okay, some error. What's the error? It says parse error. So looks like some table t head something. Oh yeah, of course I forgot to fix this. There's no files.map. Instead, you have to say # each files as file. Okay, and you can and probably should have keys. So file, index I, and then the key is shown like this. So you can just use I. So the funny thing is you don't assign a key attribute to anything. You simply, your key goes into the each block. Okay. So, and now you will close the each block. And of course, there's no map of any kind. You just simply instantiate your TR. You don't have to say key equal to I. You did that when you put I in parentheses here. Okay. And so this is the collection files. This is the element of that collection, single file. This is the index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then while these two are being derived from this third one is not being derived from these. It's actually receiving the value that you derived and supplying it to the each block. So it's in the opposite direction. Okay. So let's see if this works. Save. Okay. As you can see, the table heading showed up right away. Choose files. Let's select a few files. And it almost worked. Something, sorry, I have some extraneous characters there. Yeah, let's fix those. And let's test it again. All right, this works. Okay, so far we have an equivalent program. A program or a component that does the same exact thing in both. This one is doing it in Svelte, and here's the other one that is doing the same thing in React. Comparatively looking, they look about the same, but I think there are very significant differences already. One is you're playing with use state, and then you have files and set files and use state, and of course you're importing it, and then you're calling set files. As opposed to here, you create a local variable, and then you assign it a new value. I think this is much simpler. Second thing was the each versus map. I think that's a wash. You can, I mean, they are both equally easy or equally difficult. I don't see any much of a difference. If anything, maybe this is more idiomatic JavaScript than this each block, but it's okay. All right, let's now go a little further. What if you did not want to show this in this form, like select some files and so on and so forth? What if you wanted to give some other help? In React, the way you can actually give child content. Let's give some child content to FileUpload, and we will make that the help. So here I am. I'm going to say React wants you to select some files. So that's the child content. Okay. Let's go back to the file upload, and we will simply put the child content wherever you feel like it. I'm going to put it here. So in here, you just say children. Sorry, this dot children. I believe that's correct. Let's find out if that. I'm so sorry. I was thinking of stateful component. It's not this. It comes from props. So props dot children. So we could simply say children in props. So it's restructured out of props. So let's just do this. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to do. Okay, so there you go. We supplied something. Let's save this also. And I supplied React wants you to select some files, and it shows React wants you to select some files through the fact that this is the child content, and we are telling it to render the child content. Okay, so this is good. How would you do that in here? You can just do something very similar. You supply some child content. Let's do that. And we say Svelte wants you to select some files. Okay, and back here, you do to render some whatever child content that was provided, you basically, instead of saying children, you use the tag called slot. So this is the something specific to Svelte. So because I supplied Svelte wants you to blah blah blah, use wherever I put the slot, that's where it showed up. So in fact, at this point, it kind of is not useful to have select some files. So we can delete that. And now it's gone. Svelte wants to select some files. But what if someone decided not to supply the child content, right? If you do that, now you have no help, neither the component providing it nor the caller of the component, the parent providing it. So how do you solve that problem? You solve it simply by making the default content child of slot. So now earlier we had a paragraph, you can still have a paragraph and say select some files. When you do that, select some files shows up. But if you happen to provide child content, which is what we had earlier, like this, then the child content coming from the parent is shown. And so slot is simply a fallback. Slot provides a fallback. How do you do the same thing in React? Well, it's actually not that difficult. You simply say, if someone provided me with children, then I will render them. But if there are no children, just render this content. So if you do this, at this point, since the caller, the parent application did provide content, that's what you're seeing. But if you delete this child content, then the default children, which is the first part of this expression, shows up. All right, so far so good. They're both equivalent, nothing's different. But what if you wanted to replace the entire table with UL, whatever? So, which means let's change this. Let's go back to React wants you to, but this time I'm going to wrap this in a paragraph tag. Why in a paragraph tag? You will see that in a second. And now I want to say, hey, show me some UL. And in here, there should be, let's see, in here, there should be LIs, right? And they should show the files. That's my intent. Just like that's how we started out, right? So how do we do that? We have a problem here. What can I put inside the LI? I mean, I can, obviously I'm going to do some map of files. So I could say files.map. Oops. I could say map files dot map, and then f maps to li f dot name. But we don't have files. There is no variable called files or anything bound. So that is our concern. So let's see if this anyway works. So it says files is not defined. Of course, that's not going to work. All right, let's create a local variable. I guess we will call const files equal to an empty array, right? So if I do that, yeah, so that works. And I'm selecting that. I see the table, but I don't see the UL or anything like that. And it's going to be hard to show the ULs because I don't have the list of files here. Let's go to Svelte. Okay, before we go to Svelte, let's just finish implementing. There is a way. It's not like it's impossible. It's just hard. So what we have to do is we have to pass in a callback. And the callback is going to say, so here's say, let's call it files callback, something like that. I don't know what to call it. And we will give it a value of files callback, same thing. Okay. Now we have to create a function files callback is a function, and it's going to be called with the new value of files, right? And so someone is going to supply this, and we are going to try to update this one. So let's we have to have different names for it. So let's call this FS just to distinguish. And this cannot be constant. This has to be variable. So let's make it let. And then we will say files equal to FS. Okay. So someone is going to set the value of files, hopefully, and then you are going to get that value here. So obviously, FileUpload has to accept such a thing. So now we go back in here and then say files call back. So it's being supplied as a prop. And now we have to handle change will do this. Yeah. So handle change will call files call back with the new value of files. Right? This seems reasonable. Should work. At least to me, it seems reasonable. We'll see. Choose files. We're selecting 3 files. No, nothing happened really. And I'll tell you why it didn't happen. Because even though you are reassigning a new value to files, React doesn't believe in you reassigning values to variables. It believes in set state. You have to call set state. So what's your choice? You have to do, again, use state one more time. Let's do use state. So React, comma, use state. And we will change this whole thing to use const. Can we? Yeah, we can do const files, and just same as before, right? So files, comma, set files is equal to use state empty array, the initial value. Now someone will call set files. Now we don't have to write our own files callback, delete it, and simply instead use set files. Okay, so hopefully this will work. And this files callback is going to be get called in handle change, and it's going to be supplied with files. So hopefully this whole thing works. We'll find out. Did it do anything? It didn't do anything. Now that, I mean, I'm sure this can be made to work, but I just want to show you that it is obviously non-trivial, right? Now, how would Svelte do this? Here's what Svelte would do. It already has let files here, right? It can simply allow parent to borrow it by saying all it has to do is export. Export let files. The minute you say export, it is exposed as a property to parent. Now the problem is that that property is two-way. It needs to be, if I just say files equal to some local value of files, then it is one-way binding. It's going from parent to child, not going from child to parent. I can say let files equal to an empty array. And now this local variable files goes to the child as files. But I want it in the opposite direction. So the only thing I have to change is bind. Okay. Now that that's done, let's put the same UL and all that, right? So let's see if this works. Wrap this in a paragraph. UL, sorry, what am I doing? UL, and each block, like before, we always do each block, and LIF. Oh, each has to say files as F, and I'm not going to bother with index and key. F dot name. Save it. Let's see if this works. Oh, sorry. I see a reason why. Because I have never not saved anything. I mean, even this is not saved. So let's save them both. That's why it was not working. So once I save them both, and hopefully this will reload. Yeah, it reloaded. And now I select a few files, and boom. The so this is the content coming from parent. So parent is able to customize it. Parent is saying, yeah, show this instead. But it's not showing instead. If you really wanted it to show instead, you just wrap the whole thing in slot from here to here, and now it will show. It won't show the table at all. So files, select a bunch, and you see the ULLI. You don't see the table. So the job of slot is to provide default content in case parent doesn't want to provide one. And here's React. I mean, I'm sure there is a way to make this files and set files in form of callback to work. I mean, you can always do all kinds of redux and set state to props and set dispatch to props. All kinds of things can be done, and I'm sure it can be made to work. But as you can see, it's not easy.
Okay, now I realized what mistake I was making. The problem is I am, instead of using files which is not even set yet. When you call set files, the value of files is not modified immediately. In any case, we are not supposed to use that. What we are supposed to do is we are supposed to make another copy of this same file list. So array from. So this is what I should have done. Files callback, which is calling the parent set files and supplying it with a copy of files array. So once you do that, save it. Now everything should work. Let's go to choose files and select a bunch of files. And at this point, yes, the ULLI, which is coming from parent here, this is coming from parent, is being rendered, while the file upload itself is providing a table, which is showing over here. But the important thing is that in the parent now files variable is getting updated correctly because of use state, which is the callback files callback being set files being supplied in, and then the file upload component during handle change calls your set files from parent, which is file callback. Files callback is the alias with the array from e.target.files. Once you do that, it all starts working. So as you can see, I mean, it works, but it is very involved, somewhat complicated. You have to create two separate local states, one in parent, one in child, and you have to update both of them. Of course, there is a way to do this. You can create a shared store, but none of that is needed in Svelte. React will make you use Redux and set state to prop and set dispatch to props and some shared states and reducer, and you have to connect the components and whatnot.
While in case of Svelte, all you have to do is expose your local variables as export let, and then you bind to them in the parent. So that is a quick comparison between the two. There are more things you can, for example, in case of React, you can provide only one set of children. That's all you have. You have only one slot for children. Whatever you supply as child content ends up in the child as a children prop, right? Over here, right? But in Svelte, you have multiple slots. You can create any number of slots. For example, if you think of this part as help and this part as file list, you can do that by just calling this, giving it a different slot name. So here, let's do that. We call this slot name equal to help, and then close the slot. And then next slot, you can open this with a separate slot, name equal to, say, file list. Okay. And now you have two slots. One is the table, the other is the paragraph, right? So back in here, you can, if you don't, obviously now this is unnamed slot, and unless you instantiate unnamed slot somewhere, like say here, unless you do this, the child content won't even show up at all. So in order for us to make sense, we have to call this p slot equal to help, and then this one you can say ul slot equal to file list, and this is how they will it'll replace that content. So if we go back here, Svelte wants you to select some files, and this is what you supplied, and which is replacing this help. If you wanted, if you don't name it that, if you just call it something that it doesn't expect, help1, then this part gets ignored, and then select some files, which is the default value of the slot shows up anyways. So there's another advantage for Svelte, because it's giving you any number of slots. You just have to name them, while React gave you one chart, which is children. That's it. Okay, so let me leave you with these closing thoughts in React versus Svelte. React is a framework with a runtime. Svelte is a compiler, not a framework. React uses virtual DOM. Svelte does not use virtual DOM. It makes direct minimal changes to the DOM reactively in response to change in state. React uses use state hook for component local state, but for Svelte, for component local state, you just use local variables. In React, you pass callbacks to get data out of child component, as we did in case of the app and the file upload. But in case of Svelte, you just use bind and then files equal to files in curly braces for a two-way binding between child component props and the parent variables. And then finally, in terms of slots, React provides you a single children property, while Svelte lets you use any number of slots. So I think there are some significant advantages, and we have not even gotten into performance yet. So that is something that we might cover in a future video. So with that, I say goodbye.